Let's see Instagram. While we wait for the world to tune in.
They're coming. Where are they coming from? Where's the world coming
We're coming
from?
from all over,
All over.
All over the world. We get people that tune in here from all over the world. It's pretty awesome.
That is pretty sick.
So the Instagram notifications were just launched all over. We're gonna hang out for like a minute, let people tune in here, and as they tune in, just please let me know where are you watching from. Again, there's nothing better than community. So it's been a while. We've not done a live in a few weeks because we were gearing up for our big talk that I gave last week. It was a tremendous success. We can talk a little bit about that in a minute. Amir, nice for you to join us, my friend. Amir is a legend. Amir Baraka. Thanks for hopping in. Okay, so while we get started, my name is Jake Sussman. I am the founder of Superpower Mentors. We are a neurodiverse mentorship platform where we connect kids and teens with learning differences to their own mentor anywhere in the world who not only has the same learning difference, but more importantly, the same interest. Now, over the past bunch of years, I have been going on Facebook Live and Instagram, interviewing some of the coolest people, from entrepreneurs to creatives to people that work at NASA, to all different types of neurodiverse folks, all of whom are successful, who have embraced themselves, who have put on that cape. And tonight, I have someone here who I'm really excited to introduce to you to. His name is Yash Jain. He is the founder of Hero Trainer, which is the first mobile game to combine fitness, mindfulness, and sleep in a fun, interactive game. Yash is also a superpower mentor with ADHD. And Yash, I am so excited for you to hop on. Welcome.
It's so good to be here, Jake. And yes, the community is awesome, and the amount of impact and opportunity I've had to help other people like myself has been tremendous. So it's super cool to be here today. I'm so happy you think of me this way. You said cool. So he said it, not me. So I feel pretty great about that. I'll save that for the fiance, but thank you for having me on.
Yes, it's a pleasure and welcome. Now, something that our audience loves, especially our parents, is just to learn about the story, right? Because growing up with the learning difference, we so often forget the journey, right? And we'll read all these great stories, but there's also the journey that takes place. Now, you have put on that cape, you've embraced your gifts, and you're an entrepreneur that is building a really cool company to help those better fall in love with learning and themselves through a game, which is really cool. But I'm sure you weren't always this confident in yourself. So can you take me back a little bit to little Yash? What was it like for you growing up with ADHD? Yeah, go ahead.
Absolutely. No, my story is not an uncommon one, or not a common one. When I was a kid, I used to actually be very ahead of peers in my class up until I got to high school. And as soon as I hit high school, that's when everyone's favorite period of their life kicked in, puberty. And that's when stuff really hit the fan. For me, that's when ADHD flared up. And at the time, I was not aware that I had it. In Indian culture, just mental illnesses in general, especially like 20 years ago. God, do I feel old, but 20 years ago is when, there was no recognition of that. And suddenly all the peers that used to come up to me for help, in support for their support and like for the questions that they need in classes, they went away from me. They were blowing past me. And suddenly I felt like I wasn't working hard enough, and I tried to white knuckle it. And no matter how hard I tried, it wouldn't really take me anywhere. So I was left feeling stupid, and my parents tried as much as they could to get me out of that. And when they felt frustrated, it really broke my heart, because I was like, I'm trying so hard, and I wish I could tell them I was trying so hard. But what, came as a form of hope at that time was, I had this ambitious goal to play football as a 100-pound kid, for an undefeated junior varsity football team.
Oh no.
So fortunately, I had a friend who believed in me. So I would say that was step one. So I had a friend who believed in me and was like, listen, we'll help you. We'll get you there. And he worked with me. He built a routine. That's the second part that was very critical. So even though I did not know I had ADHD, these were things that started to come into place. He helped me build a routine to get myself in shape, to even take that started to extend to other parts of my life beyond just the physical aspects. So I started to apply those to my work environment, how I studied, how I did things. And suddenly that started to grow, positively impact me. And suddenly I became, I stayed in that. I survived football. I made it through. It was a self-cut thing. We had 200 people start in January for tryouts. And by the end of the year, only 30 people were left. So he was there, he believed in me. And that's the type of thing that I love about this program at Superpower Mentors, right? We give back. We are their peer. We help kids. As a friend, we are their role model. And we've been through the same things that they've been through. And these are things now that was just the start. And where I am today with a lot of those learnings is now, running this company, where I manage a team of about 12 people and gamify habits in a fun way that gets results. So people lose thousands of pounds, people get in shape, they take care of mental illnesses. But this all started from addressing and having someone believe in me and helping me set routines and someone that actually cared and understood. So that's the main thing. And unfortunately, it really can't come from your parents. It can only come from someone who you feel like is more closer to your age, or someone who you can relate to more.
Right.
So
it's like having a mentor, really. That you have.
Having
a mentor.
I don't want to put
right?
words in your mouth, but
that's basically what's going on. Well, I think what's amazing, what was happening was that we're still trying to figure it out, right? And you had this person that wasn't your family that you were able to turn to and ask questions and learn from. Was that a natural occurrence? How did that relationship happen? Because there are parents watching this that are like, great, but my kid doesn't have that person, right? How can we find that person? You said it was your coach, right? Was it your coach? Who was it?
It was a friend.
It was your friend. Right.
Yeah. So he was the only friend of mine, and it's actually, he was a friend of mine who I'd sort of fallen out in touch with at that time. But I had this, again, overly ambitious dream because nothing else was going really well in my life, right? Because I was kind of failing on the educational side, and I wanted to still be as a kid in high school, I wanted to be cool. I wanted to be cool, and I wanted to be popular. And I was like, if I play football, that will get me there. But I know nothing. I am not in shape. And there's only one kid I know who's sort of my friend that will help me. And so I asked him, and he believed in me. And that.
Yeah. Yash, question. I'm sorry. How long did you play football for when you were in school?
I played for 2 years. So I played up until, from JV and to just right before, so sophomore and junior year. And then senior year, I was getting, end of junior year, I was getting ready for college. So I was
looking back, do you feel like that football was the best outlet for you having ADHD?
It was for a number of reasons. One was having, a rigorous regimen, a place to expel a lot of the energy in a very productive manner. And one of the biggest things was building a community of friends. So most of my friends up until that point, we would game. And there's nothing wrong with gaming in itself. It's just, it can be disconnect, and especially today's type of gaming. Like back in my day, gaming is everyone in the couch playing games together. And that was at least what it used to be. Nowadays, it's very on your own, play at your computer, and it's very disconnected. So football was a second place for me to make new friends and really build another group of people that I felt very close to. And those people are some of my best friends. And that same person will actually be my best man at my wedding. So like that person is so critical to my life,
Right.
that they'll be there because that's how important they were.
Yash, may I ask you, I seemed like that you were pretty socially confident. What was like the thing for you? Was it more academically that was challenging? Did you struggle socially? Like, what was that like for you in school? And how old were you when you were becoming more aware of that?
Great question. So academically was pretty difficult for me. Socially, I could only people who I took over many, I would say a long period of time would I start to open up. But I was considered a shy kid. A big part of Indian culture is dancing, and I'm not even joking. Like whenever they're like going to a lot of parties and stuff as kids, I didn't want to be there. I wanted to be at home playing video games. I would get very annoyed that we would have to go to these family parties, and my parents would be like, "Yash, like, why aren't you dancing?" I'm like, "I don't want to." Like, I stop it. And like everyone, and I mean, all the parents are dancing, all the kids are dancing. That's Indian culture. But I was shy. People would try so hard to get me to dance, and I would refuse to. But it's literally just having that person who believed in me, gave me that confidence that really spread to these other things. That set up, now that I could do some very basic things in my life, like remember to, some things that people take for granted, like remember to brush your teeth, remember to, get up and drink some water, remember to do XYZ, like remember to sleep on time. Like those things that other people take for granted started to come into shape because I had to do it to get my result. My dream and my why was so important to me that I would do whatever it took because my mentor told me that's what I needed to do to accomplish that.
So it's so interesting because this is one of the conversations we were having. For anyone that is watching, if you attended my talk last week, please comment in the chat here because it was pretty amazing to hear some of those feedback on how we can unlock the willingness to learn, right? Everyone is trying to fix and solve, and whether the traditions that you're talking about, cultural traditions that have to be literally thrown out. Yeah. Tara Marie was there. Let's go, Tara. Woo. Okay. So all of those traditions, everything kind of has to be thrown out the door, right? Because when you're dealing with someone who's neurodiverse, everyone's unique anyway, but even more so for someone who thinks differently. You know what I mean? So, but the way that you were able to plug in your why, and if you were watching my talk last week, I talked about this, right? The way we ignite the willingness to learn and the way that we can help understand how to get someone unstuck is to take the why, right? And then plug it into the adversity, which will then ignite them to want to overcome it, right? Can you take me through that? So your why was what? Let's do this together. Like what was the why? So
at that age, my why was to be popular. I wanted to being very
that's
honest.
Fine. Right? That's
but
real.
Like that's what worked.
That's real.
Today it's different. But to back then, let's
go back then because that's where parents are now. Popular. That's a classic. I love it.
I wanted to be popular. And that literally drove me to do, I was like, I'd be like, if I do X, this gets me what? Like, this is what I need to do. But you're so right. Why you do what you do is so important. Because if you're doing it for something that's theoretical or something that, doesn't have like a clear path, like I'm like, okay, I know this is the path to get popular. But it's not just that, right? There's so many ways a person could become popular in high school back then. They could go to different clubs, they can do different things, but it was something that interested me. So the second part of that is interest. And also just being able to, like, it has to be so powerful that when you wake up every morning, it's like you can just step right into that dream, because it's so, like, when you think about that dream of feeling, I mean, back then I was like feeling popular. Like I was just like, this is awesome. Like I can just step into my dream and feel so powerful. And that's what gave me the strength to wake up every day and follow and do a lot of these things that.
Right. So can we just explore this for a minute? Because I think a lot of kids want to be popular. Okay. Yeah. Parents watching this, do your kids have that yearning? Like they want to be seen like that? By the way, I wanted that too. Now, the thing is, and I love that was your why, and you were able to combine those interests to motivate you to, do more things like that. Now, the challenge here is where you draw the line, because there's a lot of things you could do to be popular that is actually absolutely destructive to you, right? Yeah. Bad things, being impulsive, you know what I mean? So how did you, was there a line? Like, how do we draw that line? What do you think?
No, that's an excellent question, right? You could take the route and doing terribly stupid things that could totally end your high school career, or just anything that could lead to some very poor decisions going, like poor pathway, a trajectory for you after that, right? So setting some serious boundaries. And, in that moment, I really depended on my friend to build those for me. But that, if you trust someone, and you have to be very careful about who you trust, right? So it has to be someone who understands what you're trying to do, right? If you know for a fact, like you're like, oh, I know those kids over there are going to do certain things that are not good, but that's my pathway to getting popular. And you know what the outcome of that is. Like the parents know it, you know it, everyone knows it. But that's not going to work out, because it's generally people aren't interested in doing those things. People have interests that they're actually thinking about, hobbies that come to mind, right? When before that point, you have hobbies that come before it. People aren't interested, and I'll just I won't beat around the bush here, but let's say kids at certain ages will be like, I may do drugs so I can be cool in front of my peers, right? That's not a hobby. Doing drugs is not a hobby. But before that age, in elementary school, people have interests, right? Maybe you're into arts. Maybe you're into music. Maybe you're into sports. Maybe you're into anything. But that's where you start. The interest with the dream, and that's the route that you take, and you check it against your friend group. Like, are those people going to match your friend group?
Okay. So what you're really saying, getting to the path of popular, there is a way to do that without being bad, right? Yeah. So what you're saying, correct me if I'm wrong, if the ultimate goal is being popular, right? You take the interest that you have and use that as a means to propel being popular, right? You could propel that to build confidence and then get you to go out of your way to ask questions or meet a new friend at recess or something, right? Strike up conversation. I think there's something cool with that, because, a lot of times we'll make our friends doing the activities that we love. You know what I mean? I may not make a friend at the stands at the football game, right? But maybe I'll make my friend, doing something else, a chess club or something, right? That's where our friends are going to be hanging out, doing the things that we love. It's very hard to make friends in class. It really is. It's really by chance if you sit next to them or got placed in a group. But
Yeah, totally. And one of our superpowers as people with ADHD
Right.
is that we know what we like. Like if we don't like something, it is very apparent. If
You're
we
not
like
going to do
something,
it.
it's
Right.
so apparent.
Right.
So
Right.
that helps and you can, as a parent who's like watching this or looking at it, you can tell. Like you will see your kid light up. He will be so excited when he talks about that. And but ask your kid about things that aren't, like, I would say, like cheap dopamine, right? Like if you ask him about his favorite TV show, you ask him about like his favorite game. Sure. Like when you're a kid, like that's something, those aren't really quite like hobbies. Like gaming, I would say, is a nice way to relieve stress from time to time, but not a dedicated hobby. But like, what do they think about when they go off to their dreams? What do they think about? What do they want to become? Like, what excites them? And you can just tell by asking them about something. They'll constantly bring it up. It will be so apparent. That's what they're interested in.
Right. And by the way, that's like, look at Minecraft. I had model trains growing up. Model trains in Minecraft are really no different, except for the fact that Minecraft is virtual, right? Like if your kids love Minecraft, get them something to build.
Yeah.
If they love build, ask what they're building on Minecraft. Look at them, the structure they've created. It's not just a video game, right? Like
Yeah.
you can actually, if they're building this sophisticated castle with hidden rooms, I mean, it's really their brain. Let's take that and find other hobbies or interests that can accommodate that. Maybe it's an architecture thing, right? Something that you can learn how to build a model, some plane or whatever. You know what I mean? I think that's awesome. Really awesome. Okay, so for the parents and also parents watching, if you have questions, and I know we get a lot of families that watch because right now it's dinner time. So if we get any parents watching, if you have questions, this is an incredible opportunity to ask someone that has literally lives with ADHD. This is not just coming from a textbook, right? This is coming from lived experience. There's nothing more credible than that. All right. So any questions you have, please don't hesitate to ask. We are here for you. Now, Yash, let's dive in on something here. I want to talk a little about strategies for our kids with ADHD and parents of kids with ADHD. So reflecting on your own experience, what strategies have worked well for you in managing stress related to ADHD?
Absolutely. I would say, as a starter, the greatest point of stress across all parts of my life is executive dysfunction. That never goes away, but it's how you actually live with it and the strategies that I've built around it to make sure that isn't a factor of stress to me. So for an example, a couple of strategies that I employ, like the number one thing, just as a general principle, is making it real, like bringing everything into the physical world. So every task I put, like every single thing I have to do is written down. Like it's either it's on a task tracker, it is somewhere, it's written on a calendar, but ideally it is done on mobile devices or on my computer, because you need to leverage technology in a way. These are things that are going to get easier and easier with time. So task trackers that are linked to calendars, number one. Bytes and the size of the tasks that I put down, like the size of the tasks, are very tiny. So anything I do, even the smallest thing, it's very easy to make that momentum. So I get a check after, like, even as simple as creating a document for the work that I need to do. Writing a paragraph, that's another check, right? Creating an outline, right? That's a check. So those things help us create momentum, because for people with ADHD, we don't get dopamine when we complete the task. We get a sense of relief. And so you have to kind of keep that momentum going. And what I've also found is and this is just also, these are general principles that I recommend to people as well, like splitting the days into 4 quarters. I know, going like football metaphor, but
No, I'm in. I'm so in. Tell me more.
So 4 quarters, right? When we have a day that starts off bad, we think the whole day is a waste. It's a wash. So like we just kind of let the day we're like, oh, this day's going bad. I'm just gonna basically fall into it. It's the slippery slope phenomenon, right? Like it just tunnels into like next thing you know, you're on the couch eating a bunch of Oreos. It just really spins out, the double stuff, the good kind, right? But still.
It's happened. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, like that's our thing. Yeah.
Yeah. But like 4 quarters, if you think about it like that, and you think, oh, okay, the first quarter, like the morning stop didn't go so well, right? If you silo that, then you're like, I still got, these are 3 separate individual, each in their own thing. And this day can still turn out good. And I'm going to try to do the best within that segment. And that makes you focus and be like, I haven't wasted this whole day. I can still go and knock this quarter out. And then lastly, as a person with ADHD, you're constantly being flooded with so many ideas and thoughts all at the same time. And when I come across decision paralysis is something that used to really, something I used to face a lot, even with something as simple as like choosing the words that I want to use in an email, to even, some very big decisions in my life. And the simplest solution to that, which is actually really healthy, is walking. And I go out, walk literally if it's cold, and tends to be cold in Chicago most months of the year, it's literally walking back and forth in my hallway. And these ideas, it gives the space and time for me to process them. And it is actually, who's this? Like, whose idea behind this was? It was Abraham Lincoln, and I'm not even joking. It's Abraham Lincoln's idea.
Abe, tell me.
Hey, he had it. Too soon. No, I'm kidding. Yeah. No. But walking back and forth while you're to process ideas is so effective on so many fronts. And on worst case scenario, you burn a lot of calories and you're healthy. True. Walking is great.
I think I burn about 500 calories a workday, maybe more. No, definitely more. No, but I burn a lot of calories when I'm working, And I think it's important to see this because parents, if you have your kid just sit down and do homework, that's not how they think, right? Sometimes I get to go on the treadmill and speak it. Sometimes, look, when I was in school, I remember I had someone that just dictated whatever I said. I would just say it and they would just type whatever came out of my mouth, they would just put on paper. You know what's a really good strategy? Here's a good one. When I was writing my speech, I would record, or when I would try to write an essay, I have it in my head, but I really struggle with getting it through my fingers. So what I do is I go on voice memo and I literally record whatever, and I brain dump on audio, and then I can replay it back and listen to it. And as I'm listening, because I'm an auditory learner, boom, I'm going crazy, right?
Absolutely. I think that you touched on so many points, so many things there. There's so much gold in that, right? The type of learning, the way that works for you, but that's such an effective strategy because when people with ADHD try to bring things into their physical world, it feels like they're just it's so much that's trying to escape, right? Typing is just not fast enough. And it just feels like you need to get it out as fast as possible. If you don't, you're not going to get it. It's gone. The idea is gone. So that is such an effective idea for capturing that.
Yeah, it's all there. We got to it's all right in front of us. Can't think too much on this one, right? Sometimes the simplest tools and things are right there. Absolutely. You know what I mean? All the answers to your insecurities, to your lack of confidence is all in your interest and the things you love. And not your toxic ones, the other ones.
Right? The other ones, just to be clear.
Just want to be clear.
So, just the asterisk on that. But yeah, fully agree. And and there is I really do want to let parents know, there is hope in certain things. Really, the technology is heading in a direction that's going to make it super, like, so much easier than we had it back in the day. And we're very happy about that, right? Like dictating an email, type it into like ChatGPT, Claude AI, Gemini, any of these, like they will give you that foundation that used to, I couldn't tell you how much time I've wasted as a person with ADHD trying to come up with like a freaking word or sentence so I don't like say the wrong thing. Like so much time has been wasted, and these are things that could be done in minutes, seconds, and these are gifts that would tremendously make people with ADHD's lives easier.
Now, let me ask you a question here. So, obviously, having ADHD, we have this superpower called hyperfocus, right? Which, by the way, is the most ironic thing, because the biggest misconception with ADHD is that it's a focusing problem. But in reality, we can focus better than most people, to the point where we don't hear and time doesn't exist. So remember that. But when you're hyper fixated on something like video games, because I don't think video games are bad, I think they're good in moderation, right? How did you, or what are some tools that you may have worked on with some of your mentees that can help them break that hyper focus, right? So that they can be aware of the fact that their superpower is activated.
Absolutely. One of the things that I actually have in place, because again, this never goes away. It's just using strategies to make sure and bringing these essentially rules in place to make sure that you can regulate yourself in a way that you don't have to think about. So I know you said the word moderation. Oh man, that is such a word that people with that like us struggle with so hard. In all places. But for an example, even on my phone and every device I have built in timers and like the work that I do. So between say 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., all social media apps on my phone and everything, browsers, everything are blocked. And those are blocked because I know even a single distraction, like a notification, suddenly that, for me, like a normal person might be able to be like, oh, cool. But for me, I'm like, oh, let me go investigate. And then suddenly, guess what? I've lost several hours in a time burrito, completely just, who knows, what times, what year it is. So like those again, really using technology as your friend here to stop, because everything today is trying to get your attention. So using technology to block that is very effective as well. And these are things that once you implement, you'll notice like you don't need your parents to constantly be like, and this is what it's a really big benefit to parents. They don't need to be like, hey, they don't want to be, no one wants to be the bad guy. No parent wants to be like, hey,
but I feel
get off the
parents
computer.
have had no option up until this point anyway, right? Like when you're parenting a kid, first of all, let's face it, like no one knows what they're doing. And parents have had no option but to be that guy, because there's been no one that's an accountability partner other than the parents. But now, having a mentor, someone that can speak their language, there is one. And that's what the whole point of this is, right? You, Yash, can speak a language that very few people can. And that's what makes you the best person to talk to when someone's struggling with ADHD. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And, I think this, like the question, like I ask people is like, would you, like as parents, did you listen to the feedback or advice of your parents at your kid's age? And the answer for most people is no. It's like it has to be someone that is, who understands what you're going through. And the closer they can relate to on a very fundamental level, and again, age is one way, but the second thing is like interest. And then the other thing is what this whole program is about is ADHD, right? Like I have like essentially gone through all the pain and suffering and the battle scars, and I don't want your kids or anyone to have to go through that pain, because it's like I don't know how many years of therapy that have just been spent on like talking about how dumb I've felt, and how much it hurt me to see my parents being hurt, because there's nothing more than a kid wants to do than make their parents proud. And seeing my parents not proud, it was very hard. It's because if they don't understand what you're going through, and they feel like you're not trying, and you're trying so hard, but you can't quite convey that, especially at their age, it's such a painful experience. So I don't want anyone to go through that. And that's why, I do what I do. Like, that's why I'm here at Superpower Mentors, because it's so important to me to help people that are going through these challenges, so it makes their lives just a little bit easier. That's honestly what it boils down to.
Yeah. Yeah. And those words are so powerful. I know that the kids, how many kids do you have that you're working with now?
So I'm mentoring about 4 currently. And yeah, I think
what's that like?
That's been fun. Cause again, it's so funny, because back in the day I could barely manage my own life. And now today, in addition to managing my startup, now I'm also managing these kids and the families as well, right? Like we are also an outlet for the parents to also talk to and learn about what ADHD is like. So it's been such a great learning experience for me, but it's also been such a profound experience to know that I'm helping kids as well and avoid these pain points that I had to go through.
And it's really in the why, right? I mean, look at your business that you started, right? I mean, it's incredible. Like, you are building something. First of all, it's hard to build a business. You know what I mean? And all of that insecurity and the pain that goes through building something from scratch, right? It comes from your strength of having gone through so much adversity. And now all the things that you're doing, Yash, is you giving back and making sure the younger version of yourself can be seen. And it's really incredible. I want you to know, like, I'm very inspired by it. And I know that your mentees are inspired by it. And for anyone watching this, if you would like to have your kid work with Yash, please reach out to us and we'll be happy to make an introduction. He's really an incredible guy here. Now, Yash, for some parting thoughts, and also parents, if you do have questions, please don't hesitate to ask in here. Of course, I know that you may watch this after this is live, so you can always reach out to me directly or just comment and I'll see it. What's some advice that you can give a parent considering mentorship for their child?
Yeah, so I think the most important thing is how is your relationship currently with your kids, right? And this was my relationship with my parents at the exact same age. It was fraught with a lot of like butting heads. Constantly, I could tell they were exhausted. I was exhausted and trying to just work with what I had, and this mismatch of me trying to make them proud and them trying to give me the tools that I needed to do it, but clearly none of that working. So if that's the situation you feel like you're in, where you're exhausted, you're tired, that this isn't working out, and you know that your kid is so smart and has the potential because you've seen it and you want the best for them, then I would totally recommend for you to consider this as an option, because that's what we're here to do. We're here to be the bridge between you and the kid, like Jake has said. We're here to connect some of this advice that you may already be familiar with and is right, but it's not getting passed through in the right way to your child. So that's what we're here for, is to help them by transforming, like being the best version of themselves. And we would love to have the opportunity to take away the pain from both of you.
You are amazing. Listen, Yash, this has been so much fun. Your story is inspiring and incredible, and I know the parents watching this have really enjoyed it. Listen, parents, this is all a journey, right? Everyone is figuring it out. There's no one person that has all the answers. So just know that we are all here because we were in your kids' shoes once. And now it's our turn to tell you and make sure that you see hope that everything is going to be okay. That's it. Well, I want you all to have a wonderful rest of your week, and I will see you next week. All right. Bye, everyone. Thanks, Yash.